In this episode, Frederick Jamieson talks about his father, Walter Jamieson, who was born in December 1915 and spent his working life at sea. From 1947 to 1961, he worked for Salverson on whaling ships. He also gives us his own memories of growing up, his Leith granny, his father returning home from 9-month trips away, and then his own working career, being trained as a cooper in Storey's Alley, moving on to be a lorry driver, and being a teenager in the late 50s and early 60s. At 18, earning £100 a week and driving a black Ford Zephyr and watching Chubby Checker at the Top Story Club. Heady days.
My name is Frederick Jamieson, Walter Jamieson's son. He was born on the 12th of December 1915 in 68 Henderson Street, Leith. He attended Gill Street Primary School and then David Cooperage High School from 1920 to 1930. When he left school, he had an apprenticeship, an engineering apprenticeship at George Brown's Broadwind, the Shore. I really don't know whether is it still there. I don't think. Is it still there?
Certainly George Brown's still.
Is George Brown still there?
Yeah,
right, okay,
yeah.
right. He served a 5-year apprenticeship, which included a 2-year course at Leith Technical College, which I have
you've got there.
certificates.
Oh, fantastic.
For one was for practical mathematics, and the other one was elementary prime movers.
I don't even know what that is.
I know, and this is just one for the following year.
Oh, right.
This for the following years. So after that, he started his sea career in 1936. In 1936 to 1938, but his first ship was the SS Sithonia, which went to the Far East and Australia.
Mm.
Yeah, he came off that in 1938, and unfortunately it was torpedoed in 1942 in the North Atlantic convoys. I actually found that online.
Oh, right.
Then from 38 to 47, he served on various ships for the Ben Line and the Dornoch Shipping Company.
Right.
This is the Dornoch Shipping Company, and there's the Ben Line, which was owned by Mr. Thompson. In fact, my mother, who was a dressmaker, used to make dresses for Lady Thompson when she went to the palace. They lived up at Palmerston Place, and this is all his discharge notes, right? And then from 47 to 65, he went to work for Chris and Salverson's. He sailed on various ships to the South Georgia, till the whaling ended in 1961. He was on basically oil tankers, which picked up the whale oil and took it basically to South America and back again. A 9-month trip or an 18-month trip, which he very seldom did, but it was mainly 9-10 months. And then when the whaling finished, he stayed with Chris and Salverson's and they went under deep sea fishing to Newfoundland until 1965. After that date, he joined the Scottish Fishery Protection Agency. Sailed on various ships basically just round the coast, from Leith round the coast and back again on the Eastern Scotia, the Alva, the Longa and the Swither. And his last trip before retirement was on the Swither when it went down in the Forth. It went down in the Forth in a storm on the 31st of January 1980, along with a bottle of whiskey, which was more, he lost all his gear, but he was more worried about this bottle of whiskey he had. So basically that's a synopsis of. He died in February 1998. He stayed in Pitt Street. After he got married in 41, they moved to 107 Pitt Street.
Oh, it's now Stan, actually.
And then they moved to Gosford Place in 1946,
Right.
where they stayed there until he passed away in 98.
Did he talk much about the whaling? Did he?
Not really. As I say, we were kids. We were at school when he came home, usually around about March. No, he didn't do a lot. Once he came home, that was him. Once he had his few pints with the guys when they got paid, and that was it. He didn't do a lot. After 2 or 3 weeks, he was like a bear with a sore head, under my mother's feet all the time.
Oh God! Right.
Although he was just sitting there. You know, she couldn't get her sewing machine out, or the Hoover out because it made too much noise. Yet he worked in the engine rooms for 9 months.
But that was a different noise.
It was a different noise. That was a work noise. He was home and he liked the peace and quiet. The only thing he spoke about was how cold it was, and obviously you had to wear gloves and that, and you put your hand on the piping or the ship's barrier, you know, that your hand would stick to it. These sort of things, like, you know.
And what was it? I mean, for you,
I remember
that was normal.
that was us normal. Mother ran the house, basically. Like, mother ran the house, and he just let mother get on with it when he came home.
Right.
He provided the funds, basically.
Yeah.
That was his role in life.
Yeah.
And that was it. He wouldn't entertain hire purchase or credit
No.
or anything like that.
Cash only.
Everything was paid for. If you couldn't buy it, you couldn't afford it at that time.
Yeah.
Basically, like, you know.
That was his way.
And that was his way of thinking, like, you know. Everything was cash. I don't remember really a lot about, as I say, until I was about 15 or 16, when he went on the fishery protection. He was home every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
After that, I mean, you're a teenager, you were up and you were out, and
Yeah.
you know, he was kind. He to me, money sorted everything. That was his philosophy, like, you know.
Yeah.
Everything went hand it over,
Yeah.
just hand money over, like, you know.
God. And was he?
And
I mean,
you know, it was good, and he was good to his family. He's like his mother.
Yeah.
His mother stayed in Henderson Street until, and I can't remember when she passed away, but basically until the flats were knocked down. She was, and then she was hospitalised. But it was all tenements across from the Bay Horse.
Oh. Yeah.
But he was good to his mother. I always saw his mother when he come home and gave her a few pounds and keep her going, sort of thing, like, you know. It
So
was
you
good with that.
wouldn't have had, like, presumably he was rarely there for a Christmas then, was he?
Never.
Never.
I don't remember him being home for Christmas at all. I don't remember being home because he was always home March.
Yeah.
Then they went away in April, May, June. You know, around about summertime, the summer holidays. We had a few holidays with him,
Yeah.
but basically that was it. Never, no Christmas, no.
Is it-
Christmas was always at my granny's,
Right.
which on my mother's side, and Dad wasn't there. Dad was never there. Or New Year, you know, until he basically come home to the
Yeah.
when it was what 65, 68. That's another photograph I found of him. That's in the same time as the other one I gave you.
That is
I remember.
amazing.
I couldn't remember I had that one.
That is amazing.
But that's just quite good, just with the footprints
Yeah.
along there. That's my mother's last pound when she passed away. That was him in
Oh, this is
1938 in Australia, and I do have.
look at that.
This is his discharge book, as I say, from the beginning. The Sassonia,
Grief, that's amazing.
right, and this is right through to the Scotia and longer
Yeah.
in '65. So, as I say, it's
Oh, we'll
it's
take a copy of those.
quite a good. It's basically a man's life.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I was really annoyed about when they reported all this
Yeah.
was they reported him as a stoker rather than an engineer.
Oh, that no.
That really rattled him. There's my dad there.
Right.
That's him there, Walter Jamieson, and yeah, it's there was it. Stoker Jamieson.
Dear.
He was only 64. That was his last. That was his last trip at sea.
Virtually the whole of his working career was at sea then, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apart from being at George Brown's.
Apart from being at George Brown's,
Yeah.
he did decide at one time. I can't remember really when it was. I think it was after the whaling. No, it was after he went deep sea fishing. He decided he'd maybe have a land job, and I think he went to Brown's.
Right.
He went to Brown's and got a job there. Decided to try a land job.
Right.
It lasted 2 days. It lasted 2 days because he was doing the work that he was given.
Yeah.
Strip a gearbox down or
Yeah.
repair an engine or whatever, like, you know, pistons or whatever. And basically he would go back to the foreman and say, right, what's my next job? He said, oh, that's a 3-day job.
All right.
You know, so he wouldn't, he couldn't do with that. He just
Right.
got, like, you know, and he would say, I remember him telling us when he come home, he said, I'll finish with that. He says, he was doing something with a gearbox. He needed a gear or a cog or something. And he went to the foreman and said, the job's finished. The foreman said, well, you need to wait and get this cog or part.
Yeah.
He says, no, he says, I turned one. So he went and just turned one. Because they had to do that when they were away.
Of course they would, yeah.
He just went and turned one.
Yeah.
So I said, well, and similarly the foreman says, well, he says, that's, you know, that's a 3-4 day job, whatever, you know, when you're waiting apart. And he said, well, if that's the way you work, I'm away. and he walked out. He walked out. He was, you know,
Just
he
couldn't take
couldn't
it.
work. He couldn't work like that. He couldn't work like that because they say he was always used to working. If they needed a part, they made it. They turned it out to something else.
Yeah, well, as
You know,
say, you
so
had to.
you know you had to.
Yeah.
So yeah. So as I say, that's basically his my dad's life story.
And did he write back home? Did he?
I'm sure he would have written back home.
Yeah.
I think he wrote more home when he started when he went to the Australia
Right.
in the Far East,
Yeah.
sort of around between the war or after the war years and that.
Yeah.
And I always remember what he used to do was send home food parcels from Australia, which consisted of tinned mince, tinned fruit, tinned beef, tinned stew, sugar, which was cubed. Hardly anybody saw cubed sugar. You know, you were posh, you had cubed sugar on the table.
Yeah.
Packed of cubed sugar and basically most of the tins stuff that basically we couldn't get here. So we really never went
No.
kind of short. I mean, I was born in 44, it was just
Yeah.
at the end of the war. But things were still scarce. Things were still scarce in that. So we always had something, you know. But then again, they were well paid, we were comfortable off.
I was going
But
to say.
we didn't think that at the time.
No.
We didn't think that at the time. I mean,
But obviously, you probably didn't have money worries like.
oh, we didn't
other
have any.
families.
No, because I mean, they owned their own house. They owned their own flat in Gosford. I don't know about Pitt Street, whether it was bought or whether it was rented. I couldn't tell you that bit. But I know Gosford was. It was on a mortgage
No.
because we used to go down to Bernard Street. My mother and us used to go down to Bernard Street every so often, or every couple of weeks,
Right.
or every. I mean, I think it was every couple of weeks we got money from the office, from Salveson's office. Yeah, because the men had to send. It was taken off their wages at the end of when they came home, because they've got to send money home to keep their family going.
See, I assumed that it was a great block of money that you got, but you were getting it more regularly than that.
We got money regular.
Right.
They had to set up a scheme or you know to for the families,
Yeah. of
right?
course.
And then when Mum and I we used to go around to Bernard Street, Salveson, pick up his wages, and then we walked around to Constitution Street to pay the mortgage, and when the building society's up there, you know. So I remember that.
Yeah.
But then again, when they did come home and they got the balance of their
Yeah.
money, it was considerable. It would be in 1963. I got a phone call from my mother at work. You better go and pick your dad up. Couldn't find him. I said, well, I know where to find him. So I found him in the Bay Horse with Granny, right? A wee bit worse for wear, both of them. we got the two of them across the road, and I got him bundled into my car. He had this old raincoat on with the big patch pockets that used to go right through into the inside.
Oh, I
yeah,
know,
right?
yeah.
We got him home. All the money was just rolled up inside it. That was his wages and a bit of pay slip. It was just all rolled up. Been out drinking a Leith, and maybe the guys knew where, you know, when the guys come home. So he was lucky that day. I remember him saying that year he had paid £1,000 in tax in 1963. I mean, it was a lot of money.
So
they made a
a few
lot.
thousand he was earning.
They made a lot of money. They did make
yeah.
a lot of money. Yeah.
But he sounds, I mean, I've spoken to people, not always single or relatives of people, where they basically just came back and peed it all up against the
Oh
wall
yes.
and
Oh
they
yeah.
had
Oh
it.
yeah. Oh.
So he sounds as though he's a bit more
Oh, yes,
responsible.
well,
than
more
that.
responsible than that. Well, they had a family,
Yeah.
with 3 children.
Yeah.
I always tell people this story. 23rd of September 1942, my sister was born. On the 23rd of March 1944, 18 months to the day, I was born. On the 15th of September 1945, my younger brother was born, another 18 months. So it was a bit regular, and he was away for 9 months at a time.
I think we can work that
I'll
one
work
out.
that one out.
If we carry on chatting, have you got time? If we carry
I've got
on
all day basically, yeah. This was on the Sithonia,
Oh, yeah.
and it's just as certified to Walter Jamieson, and they joined this thing with as a 5th engineer on the 2nd of April 36, and his capacity till the 2nd of March the next time. That's when they came off.
Right.
He came off as 4th engineer.
Oh, right.
He was promoted to 4th engineer. On to the death of 2nd engineer, he was again promoted. He was again promoted to 3rd engineer, just because somebody died on the trip.
Well, there's a
I
plus
found
side
that
to
kind of
everything,
amusing, isn't
it?
there? Yeah. So, as I say,
Yeah, we'll get that one.
funny.
God.
The Lakeland, I couldn't find anything about the Lakeland.
Oh, right.
This is all the letters they get when they come off. Basically, the wording's basically the same.
But obviously these are highly important for you to carry on.
Well, as I say, when he passed away, my mother was just going to throw all this stuff out.
Oh,
I said, no, I'll take it and
Yeah.
sort of work it something out. And I just
Good for
put it
you.
in a kind of chronological order. Like,
Yeah.
This was his certificate of second engineer.
Oh, yeah.
He never made chief engineer.
Did he?
All the time. He tried 2 or 3 times. He was a good engineer.
Right.
He could tell you what to do, how to do it, but when it came to writing it down, couldn't
Okay.
do it. He could
That's
do it
a shame.
physically,
Yeah.
and he could tell you what to do.
Yeah.
He could stand and tell you what to do, but when it came to write it down, he couldn't do it for some reason.
Funny.
So
isn't
he only achieved second. So this is when he was on the fair try. He was on the fair try 2 and 3 on the deep sea fishing factory ship. What they used to do was they go out to the Newfoundland and catch the cod and that,
Right.
and then they came in. I think it was Hull they came into, and the fish was put off as fish fingers at the Bird's Eye factory. So it came back as fish fingers.
Fantastic.
So as I say, there's quite a wee bit. Come down in Melbourne, Australia, taking home.
Great picture.
So he would be 1930. He was born in 1915. So he 23 there.
Amazing how at 23-year-old how much you're dressed like an older
Yes,
man. Isn't
yeah.
it?
Suit with a waistcoat as well.
Yeah.
I was a cooper.
Well, yeah.
I was a cooper to trade. Yeah.
I was going to ask you what all your father's travelling. Did it make you want to?
It did, but I said like I wanted to go on deck.
Right.
I didn't want to get my hands dirty with oil. My father always said, once you take your jacket off at work, you never get it back on again. He always said that. My younger brother, I've got two brothers, but well, Alex just a year and a half younger than me, and then Ronald came out 13 years later.
Right.
And they're both now retired. Both chief engineers. They went to sea all their life. My grandfather was head cooper in McHugh's Brewery in Fountain Bridge, and he says, "Oh, I'll get him a job." He got me a job as a cooper in Giles Street, in Stories Alley.
Oh, aye, yeah.
McGregor and Company. They had a wholesale glass and china cutlery firm. They had offices at the foot of Leith Walk, where Kellis and the lawyers are.
Oh, yeah.
They had an office there, but they had a cooperage shop down in Giles Street. And then when that was closed down, we moved to Constitution Street.
Yeah.
And the cooperage was at the back, facing onto the park, and had their glass and warehouse at the front on Cooperage. So I worked there, and then, as I say, Hepburn. I went to work for Hepburn.
Right.
They stayed in the next stair to us in Gosford, and they also had a sack, made sacks,
Oh, right.
made cotton the Hessian sacks,
Yeah.
down Broughton somewhere, down behind Duncan's factory, round about where that was.
Diversified.
So that's where.
So how long did you do the cooperage?
I had a 5-year apprenticeship. I worked until about 1966, 65 or 66. I cut my hand, and that was at Hepburn's. Cut my hand in a machine. I was off for quite a while. It was really quite painful to do the physical work.
Yeah.
And then there was a company opened up in Airdrie. Plenty of work for Coopers, good money. So I went through there. I ended up getting married out there. In fact, I've lived in Airdrie longer than I lived in Edinburgh.
Oh, gosh.
I've all been back about 6-7 years now. We came back to 2010.
Was it good to get back?
It was well, I was retired, so but I didn't stay at Cooper very long.
Right.
I basically got fed up with their unions and that, strike for this and strike for that. So, and then what I did, I got a heavy goods licence and done heavy good driving, Arctics. Well, worked my way up to Arctics. But I worked for Arctics for about 30 years, about 25 years.
Was that long distance or?
No, not really, no. Furthest we went down to was like Newcastle or something, like, you know. I worked for Jacob's Biscuits after that, they finished up, and then I went to work for, I went to work for Christian Salversons with their trunking from Airdrie. A couple of years, it only lasted a couple of years. I had an accident on the M74. I spun on, jackknifed on black ice, pulled my shoulder, damaged my shoulder a bit. So I was off for about 18 months. So I never went back to them. And then I just joined a driving agency, Manpower. They had the contract for the Royal Mail. I just went up and down M6, M74, M6 for the last 8 years of my driving career. I enjoyed it because you're out on your own.
Yeah.
You got your paperwork in your
Yeah,
trailer, and
Yeah.
you went and emptied it or delivered it and picked something else up and come back up the road.
You're always out and
You know,
about.
you're always out. There's always
What were
something.
you driving? What were you?
Well, we drove quite a number of different things. Volvos, Scanies were the best. Basically, Scanies were good to drive. Basically, Scanies, Volvos. Yeah, that's all. Basically.
My dad
That's
was
all
a heavy haulage engineer.
Ah, right.
Well, mechanic.
Right. Oh.
So, yeah.
Aye.
That was down in Wales in the logs, the forestry. So they were at that time. It was mainly Fodens and ERS.
Oh, the big phones and ERS. Aye.
So he liked various engines. I think they were Gardners. He liked
The
Gardner
Gardners.
engines. Quite simple. Kind of.
Yeah.
But then it all got like everything else. It became increasingly more electronic. So.
Well, when I worked with Jacobs, they had their own garage, obviously, and well, after that they'd done away with it for a while. They'd done away with it. It was costing too much. They just put it out to, if your truck broke down, put it out to tender, sort of like, And I always remember this guy. He was a big guy. You'd go up and say, "I've got something wrong with this truck." And he was always remember this. He was standing at the garage door and says, "I've got a tool." They say, "I'll fix it." He said, "Otherwise, huge big slice hammer." I'll fix it. He come out. I broke down in Rutherglen one day, in the middle of bloody High Street, and he came out with this Arctic unit to pull me, to tow me back. So before that, it was just a big chain basically before the big, the bar.
Yeah.
And he put this chain on it, pulled away, and up to traffic lights. He pulled away from me, and he took the front of the bloody truck off. He pulled away. The way he just he must have forgot he was hauling me. So I was sitting there, and the front of my wagon was rolling up the road.
Oh, but he was popular.
Oh, you didn't want him coming out.
No.
He pulled a guy broke down in Perth. They put it into a workshop, and it was going to cost them too much to do, so they sent him up to pull it down. But this time it was a bar. We had a big thing with a bar on it.
Yeah.
He pulled that guy down from Perth down to Glasgow in under an hour.
God, I wouldn't want to be towed
And
by
the
him.
guy he'd been towed, he'd come out in the workshop. So yeah, what was that? Mad person. No, so that's basically what I did. I really went to sea, but I have to say, nah, I preferred to go on deck. Nice uniforms, fancy caps.
So you spoke about your granny living on Henderson
Aye.
Street. So obviously you had other family about.
We had other family down there. My father had 2 or 3. He had one sister, a couple of brothers. I don't know why, but we never had much to do with them until Dad came home. My mother would never go and visit them because she fell out with Dad's sister. It was basically a no-no. And if you knew her, you would understand why she fell out with her. He had another brother, Sandy, that stayed with his mum. Stayed with mum until Sandy was gone well into his 40s or maybe later than that. When Sandy found a lady and he got married and moved out. But the other brother, Johnny, he was just trouble. Oh,
God.
You only saw him when Dad came home. He was looking for always looking for something, and Dad just wouldn't
Really?
do it. Says no. He says, I go out. He says, I've worked hard for my money. He says, I'm not giving it to you to pee up against the wall.
Right.
So I'm like,
good for you.
aye, no. So that side of the family we didn't have a lot of basically to do with it until. Although when I worked in Giles Street, I would nip round at lunchtime, get a wee bowl of soup or a bit of stew or something for my lunch, and go round and see her later on or something, But other than that, no, that side of the family was his side, we didn't have much to do with the other side.
And had his father gone to sea, or was it?
As far as I know, I think his father was at sea now. I should have brought his birth certificate because I've got the grandfather's name. I think he was an engineer as well. To tell you, I couldn't tell you. I'd need to go back into, and I've basically nobody wouldn't know where to.
But he was a lether, presumably.
Oh, he was a lether. Oh, yeah,
Through.
yeah. Oh, aye, they were all lethers. Yeah.
What about your mum's side?
My mum was born in at Fountain Bridge.
Oh, right.
They stayed in Fountain Bridge, or down Gorgie to start with, then they moved up to Fountain Bridge. Dundee Terrace they stayed in. Because, as I say, Grandad, he was the cooper in McEwen's in Fountain Bridge.
Yeah.
And that's all he did. He was there for 50 odd years.
Well, of course you could in those days.
Yeah, that was it. And he was just about 2 years into the retirement. And I went out one Saturday for his evening paper. In fact, we had just left. Me and my mother, we'd been up to visit him. And I had a car at the time, so we went up and he went out for his paper. We left his Saturday paper, the pink or the pink and the green. Remember, he used to have the different colours. By the time we got back, there was a phone call. He'd up the stair and collapsed in the door and died. 2 years into his retirement. That was his side.
Yeah.
My granny stayed. Granny, on my mom's side, she lived for quite a wee while. No, that's all. She had a brother.
Right.
He went out to Canada. He was a cooper. He was a cooper along in Fountain Bridge.
Right.
He worked with my granddad.
Yeah.
Frederick, who I'm named after. If he was late or something, my granddad, he would just walk along and, without him, and if Frederick was late in getting to work, he'd send him home. No, just send him home. Oh, there was no favouritism,
Quite
But if you said somebody, you're late, you can't do that to your
No.
son. He was when I started in Giles Streets and at Cooper's. When I first got in the road, and I was like, how do you get into this? My grandfather's cooper up in McEwen's. What's his name? He said, Jimmy Allison. Oh, bastard. I says, aye.
So you weren't denying it?
Oh, no, I mean, many a time, if we were having dinner at my grand's and we were late, we never sat at the table. He wouldn't let us sit at the table. He'd go through the sitting room till people were there, had their dinner, and then he would let us go in. Oh, aye. Oh, you did that, huh? Oh, he did.
Talk about humiliation.
No, I mean, you just knew it.
Yeah.
If you were late, that was
That's
it.
what you had to do.
You were sitting there.
Do you have nostalgia for that era? Or?
I have nostalgia for the 50s, early 60s. That was really my time.
Yeah.
When you're a teenager,
Yeah.
early 60s or late 50s, I was 44, so you're a teenager, and
Just when it's good to be a teenager.
when it was good, When I was doing the coopering, I mean, you were paid by results after your third year or something, or into your third year. I would be 18. When I was 18, I could make at least £100 a week. So, I mean, at that time, I drove a Ford Zephyr. Aye, I drove a Ford Zephyr, which was great.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And the guy that worked with me, Johnny, he had a Vauxhall Cresta.
Oh, I remember him.
Two-tone colour. It was a salmon pink and a grey in the top. It was always a beautiful car.
Yeah.
Always. I had a black Zephyr. As I say, we were making that money. It was a great time to live. We found it.
Where did you go out? Did you go to clubs?
Basically, we used to go meet up in Spears Bar at the Golden Acre.
Yeah.
The crowd was there, and there was a coffee shop around the corner on the main street in Verleith Row. We'd go up to town a Saturday, buy records, up to band parts, which used to be in York Place, Picardy Place, where they had. You won't remember the big island in the middle of the road.
No.
No.
I've seen pictures of it.
Yeah, well, band parts and where the chip shop, the deep sea fish shop, the deep sea, and then there was fish shop, then there was band parts. We sold the records and used to go up there and play the records, get the records played and buy some or whatever, and go for a few pints or then go back home.
Did you ever go to the Top Story Club?
Top Story Club, yes. I was up there a few times. I saw Chubby Checker up there one night. He was playing one of the theatres, and I think it was a Sunday night in the Top Story Club, and he come with his maybe 4 or 5 of his Country national, you know. Oh, aye, and he got up and sang.
No,
Aye,
really?
aye.
Fantastic.
Oh, Twist Again and all that, aye.
Oh.
Aye, he did, yeah.
God, that's quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, I've seen quite a few of them. Saw Roy Orbison in the town, at the one in Lothian Road. The Regal, I think it was a Regal.
Yeah.
Roy Orbison topped the bill. Went through to Glasgow, and I saw who was on the bill. Everly Brothers.
Good.
There was 4 of us went through. Me and a girlfriend and my mate and his girlfriend. We drove through. They wanted to see the Everly Brothers, so we bought tickets. It was in the Government in Hope Street, I think it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went through in there, and the Rolling Stones were first on the list on the programme, and then there was Bo Diddley, and then somebody else was supposed to come on, and they didn't turn up. But they said, "We've got a surprise for you." It was Little Richard. He stood on stage with that piano in his band, and he tore the place apart. He really did. He closed the first half, opened the second half, and then Everly Brothers had to come in and one after it, like, you know. Well, that was a fantastic night. Took a girlfriend to see Cliff Richard in Disher Hall. It cost me 5 shillings a ticket or something, you know, in the shadows. Life was really
Sounds
good.
like it, yeah.
Life was really good. I enjoyed my time when I was in my
Do you
teenage
ever remember a local band called the Embers?
No. You were talking about the Top Story Club. There was a place down off the High Street, Bungees Club.
Yeah.
You remember Bungees Club?
Yeah.
It went down beside the old police station. The place,
Right.
which was down the road that leads from George Fort Bridge down to the Grass Market. Victoria Crescent, the
Right.
place. Yeah, it was the big old building along there, yeah.
And was the other one, was it the Gamp? Was that earlier?
God, I don't remember that one. No, we used to spread our wings a bit. Up the Tollcross to the Cavendish or away up to the Plaza at Morningside.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it's we enjoyed our time at that time.
Sounds like
you know, it's to say, it was really good. It was a good time to live. Obviously, life was that easy then.
Yeah.
Everything was.
Yeah.
But there again, if you're in the position that we were in, where I was making money, my mate was in the printing. Another mate, he worked in Ferrantes at Crewe Toll.
Yeah.
You know, it's to say, we're all making decent money. You know, the 4 of us. Yeah, we had a good time. We enjoyed our time. We spent a lot of money. We made a lot of money. Spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing the photographs of the whole school photographs. I went to Broughton. We went to Broughton School.
Right.
My sister went to Trinity. My brother and I, we went to Broughton, both primary and secondary.
Right.
Which was good. That was a good school as well, because there had a swimming pool and everything, and that a swimming pool in it. What must have been one of the only schools in a lot of towns in the town that actually did have a good sized swimming pool. That's where we all learned to swim. Then you go, push. Can you swim? No.
Yeah, there was no
Learn.
about health and safety then, was
well, no, none at all.
Thank you for listening to our Life Story podcast. Please check out our other podcasts, Leith Lives, The Thelma Tapes, Analog Rory's Jukebox, and Forgotten Songs from the Broom Cupboard. All these can be found on popular podcast platforms such as Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Deezer. Also via our website www.livingmemory.org.uk. Or we have 2 Facebook pages, one for the Living Memory Association and the other for Thelma Podcasts. If you have a story or a memory you'd like recorded, please contact us via our website. Once again, thanks.